I'm so sorry that I kept you guys waiting, but I seriously was living the situation up until a couple of hours ago. Quick recap, I went out with a guy that I matched with on Hinge on Saturday night, and it ended up going absolutely terrible. So it's me and my friend. He tells us to show up to his Airbnb at a certain time to pregame with like all the rest of his friends. Right when we get there, off the bat, the vibes are off. There's like 3 other girls there. They're getting ready. I introduce myself. Like I walk up the stairs and I'm like, hi guys, like I'm Winnie, nice to meet you, because I'm not the bitch that's not about to say hi. When they said hi, it was just like very cold, very annoying. And the Hinge match kept saying like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I had to bring you guys into this vibe. Let's go up to the roof and just like drink there. So we go up to the rooftop. He's chatting about how it's his birthday, how he had rented this Airbnb and how they were being absolutely terrible. They didn't care that it was his birthday. They didn't want to go to any of the places that he wanted to go. And I felt really bad. So me and my friend, we were like, look, just hang out with us. Like, we're going to go out, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to celebrate your birthday. I did start to notice though that he was starting to pay more attention to my friend, like ask her more questions and just be a little bit more intrigued in her life. It's not really important to the story, but I just wanted to give you guys like the vibes. So it's me, my friend, Hinge guy, his friend. He really wanted to go to this club called Havana. So it's his birthday. We're like, we're going to do whatever you want to do. His friend calls the Uber. We go down from the roof and we leave and we get in the Uber. The moment we get out of the Uber, I realize that I didn't have my purse. So I'm looking around for my purse. I'm looking at them. I'm like, guys, I don't have my purse. The Uber is driven away. Can you try messaging the Uber? I'm talking to his friend at this point because his friend's the one that called the Uber. Like, can you try messaging him and asking him if the purse is in there? He's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But chances are your purse is probably in the house. You probably left it there or you probably left it on the rooftop. I was like, you know what? At this point, I was a little bit tipsy. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, probably. Honestly, it's probably there. So like, no big deal. I also really did not want to ruin this man's birthday and make it about myself. So I was kind of just like, okay, like hopefully it's at the house. It probably is. And then we can just have a good night. We're at Havana. We're having a good time. I kind of noticed that like at this point that he's like really interested in my friend. So I'm starting to just get like turned off. I'm like, okay, like whatever, it is what it is. After a couple hours, we were lit. We were like, let's head back to the Airbnb. And here's where shit got stressful because it escalated so fast. The moment we get back to his Airbnb, he's like, shh, shh, be quiet. You have to be quiet. The girls are sleeping. Like, don't say a peep. Like, don't say a word. He's not even letting us stay in the house. He's literally saying, go back up to the roof where it's cold as hell. We were drinking. He's like, shh, shh. Every little thing we say, if we giggle, if we talk, he would be like, shh, shh, shh. Meanwhile, we weren't even being loud. Like, we were trying to be as respectful as we possibly could be. But it was the fact that every little noise we made, this man was like, guys, you guys are being too loud. It was like, honestly, it just gave me, it gave me the ick. Like, we get up to the roof, we're talking, we're telling him like how cold we are and how we want to go back inside. And so he's like, fine, like, let's go downstairs. I'm thinking he's going to take us to the kitchen. No, he takes us down one flight of stairs because there's 3 flights of stairs in this condo. It's like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 rooftop. He takes us down the first flight of stairs and like pushes us into his room and locks the door and like closes the door. It was at this moment that I remembered that I still hadn't found or looked for my purse. So I tell him, I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot to look for my purse. Have you talked to the Uber? I look at his friend and I'm like, hey, have you talked to the Uber driver? Have you heard anything? He's like, no, I haven't heard anything. I'm like, can I go and like look in your kitchen? Maybe I left it on the roof. He looks me dead in my eye and is like, shh, shh, no, you can't, no, no, no. I'm looking at him in shock and disbelief. I'm like, what do you mean no? I need to find my purse. My keys to my home are in there and the keys to my car are in there. If I don't find them, like, I'm literally stuck. He proceeds to tell me again, no, I'm sorry, but you can't go look. By this point, his friend had left the room and disappeared. It'd been like 20 or 30 minutes now. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, can we try to contact the Uber? Like, can we please do something? Because us just sitting here and you guys just staring at me is stressing me out. Like, I'm getting nervous. Like, I need to find my shit. At this point, I'm starting to cry. Him and my friend are sitting on the bed. I'm like scooched into a corner, like balled up, crying. Him and my friend are looking at me like I'm fucking insane. I am pleading with this man to please let me go check the roof. Let me go check the kitchen. Like, let me just leave this room. And he's still saying no. At this point, I don't feel like my friend is supporting me at all, and it's 2 against 1, and I'm feeling very, very ganged up on. So I'm like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to the bathroom because there was a bathroom attached to the room. I'm like, and you guys can sit here, and I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna call Corey, my baby daddy. I go into the bathroom because talking to them is not helping. I am still drunk and I'm trying my hardest to still be respectful to this man. So I go into the bathroom, I call Corey crying. Corey is like stressed out. He's like, what's going on? What's happening? I'm telling him what's happening. I'm like, I'm trying to tell them I need to find my keys. I need to find my car keys, you know, and my house keys because I can't get into my house. Like I'm explaining this to Corey. Corey's like, I don't understand. Like, what's the issue? Like, why can't you look for your shit? And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, no one's listening to me, dude. Not even my friend. Like, she wasn't even listening to me. Yes, I was intoxicated, but at the same time, like, I was still very much aware that I needed to find my shit. My friend whips open the bathroom door and she's like, we can hear you talking out here. Like, we can hear you talking shit. And I'm like, okay, but you guys are not helping me. So I had to call Corey to be like, hey, come help me because they're not helping me. I felt like no one was listening to me. It was giving like angry black women freaking out for no reason. At that point, I was really mad at my friend. I had cussed her out because I was like, leave me alone. She ends up storming off. I think she ends up like leaving the room and she's like, fuck out of here. She storms off. She leaves. I'm sitting there like crying to Corey, like, hey, like, what do I do? I'm still begging this man, like, can I please just go check? Like, let me just go look. He's still saying no. About 5 minutes later, my friend tries to call me and tells me like, let's go. I called the Uber and I'm sitting here like, no, I already called my child's father. I don't want to hop in the car with you and just be screaming at each other. Like, I'm not arguing with you about this. Like, I'm not doing it. So I completely was like, you go. So she ends up leaving. And another reason why I didn't want to leave is because I still didn't have my shit, right? Like, they didn't even live in Georgia. The moment I would have left, I would have never heard from them again. So I'm talking to the Hinge guy. It's just me and him at this point. And I'm like, can you go ask your friend if the Uber driver has said anything? Like, give me the Uber driver's number. Like, I will go, but like, I need some connection so that I can try to get my purse back. He's screaming back at me like, why are you blaming us? Like, we didn't do anything. He's talking about him and my friend. He's like, we didn't do anything and you're getting mad at us. And I'm sitting here like, I'm not getting mad at you guys. I am just like asking for empathy. Like, help me find my bag. Like, actually care at the fact that I lost my shit. I do take responsibility for losing my shit. That's all on me, but I'm just asking for you to maybe care? Like, what? I really did try to fit this whole story into 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to go to part 2.
Wagwan Islanders family, welcome back to the channel. You're done with your favorite island girl, Jody here from the 876. Now guys, you see that today we're talking about some first dates and the red flags that you just cannot ignore. But if you're dating or maybe just want, you know, a little hot tea, then this video is definitely for you. If a man does this on your first date, then this is your cue not to walk, but take up your foot in your hand and run. If you haven't already liked the video or subscribed, guys, now's the time to go ahead and do so. With that being said, guys, let's dive into the rest of Winnie's story time and to see how this whole last first situation unraveled, because boy oh boy, I'm stressed out. Let's watch.
This is part 2 of me meeting up with a guy on Hinge and it going terribly wrong. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, please go back and watch it. It will be the video right before this one. At this point, I am still bawling and crying to this man, and some other guy, some random guy that hasn't been there the entire night shows up and he's like, you gotta go. Like, you need to leave. I'm like, listen, I'm trying to explain to him. I'm like, I just need my purse. Like, my car is out there. It's parked in front of an abandoned house. It's a little bit ghetto. I can't leave my car here. I can't get into my home. I have nowhere to go. Can you please just like talk to the guy who ordered the Uber or help me find my damn purse? Hinge guy and his friend are like, no, you gotta go. You gotta get out. They are pushing me down like the stairs. Like, they are, both of them are like, you gotta go. You gotta go now. Corey's still on the phone. This entire time, I had still stayed respectful. Like, I still wasn't screaming. I still wasn't loud. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. At that point, knowing that my shit was about to be lost to the void, I was fucking livid. I look straight at Hinge guy and I'm like, God is gonna see this. Like, the karma that you're gonna get for doing this when all you had to do was help me find my purse or let me look in your house. Like, you're gonna, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs at this point because I'm livid. I'm like, dude, have some empathy, like compassion, something. You could literally see the fear on this man's face. He was like, I didn't do anything. Like, you know, it's not my fault you lost your purse. And it's like, it's literally not about that. It's the fact that you won't even help me find it. At this point, I'm not explaining this to him. I'm just like popping off because at this point, they had kicked me out on the doorstep and had closed the door. I am bawling to Corey at this point because losing your keys And losing your house keys is like it's such a traumatic experience. I can't even explain it. It's happened to me. It's happened to me once before, and it's like the worst feeling ever. Corey took about an hour to get there because he lives a little bit further from Atlanta than I do. But in between that time, I ended up calling the non-emergency line, and they ended up coming out and knocking on the door, and literally were like, well, if they don't answer, there's literally nothing we can do. Corey picks me up, which for those of you guys who don't know, Corey is my child's father. He picks me up. He's being super nice to me. He's being super optimistic. He's like telling me like, it's going to be okay. You're just drinking right now. So it's like, everything's super heightened. It's going to be fine. But trust me, like I felt like such an idiot. Like I felt like such a failure. I was like, oh my God, I literally can't even get into my own house. He ends up dropping me off at my sister's house, and I end up sleeping on her couch that night. But I was so mad. Like I was still so angry. I literally sent that man a voice note, and I was like, I'm not proud of this, but I was mad, okay? I was like, listen, my dad is Ghanaian, I'm African, like, I'm gonna put a hex on you, like, you're gonna wish you're gonna rue the day. At this point, he had unmatched me on everything. He had blocked me on Instagram. I had to just take the L and move on and admit that I fucked up. The next day, I literally had to go back to the location. I had to hire a locksmith to get a new car key made. Corey helped me get into my house, change my locks, and then after all of that was done, I get a text message from Hinge guy. He sends me a message and he's like, good news, the Uber driver has your purse. He told me that I have to pay $80 for him to bring it back. So just letting you know that you can come pick it up as soon as I get home. Can't tell you guys how happy I was that my purse was found. He sent that text message and then ghosted me for like 5 hours. By the time that he replied back, it was 11 o'clock at night, and he was like, my bad, I was out, but it's at my house if you want to come pick it up. Well, I'm with my son at that point, so like, no, I can't come pick it up, but I'll come pick it up in the morning. He's like, all right, bet, come before 9:30 a.m. So a couple of hours ago, I drove back to the location in Atlanta, and I picked up my purse. My Shayla. My Shayla. I'm so happy to see this thing. And everything was in it. I'd already canceled my cards and everything. But I'm so happy. Now I have an extra key. Like, and when I got there to pick it up, he kept saying that he did his good deed. And that like, he's like, I don't know why you were blaming me, but like, just letting you know, like I had to pay $80 to get that back here. Like I've done my good deed. And I'm literally sitting here thinking that he's probably stressed out and thinks that I'm really gonna put a damn hex on him, because the way he was acting was like, he was afraid of me. Anyway, I didn't even argue with him. I grabbed my purse. I got out of there. Honestly, don't know what I would have done without my baby daddy, without Corey. So huge shout out to that man. Anyway, I will not be doing this again.
I'm happy to see that she eventually got back her purse. I'm not sure if her judgment might have been a little off because she was clearly intoxicated, as she actually explained to us. And maybe that's why the guy seems a little bit freaked out as well. So guys, let me know what you all think. Was this whole situation just so chaotic, or you think that she was giving him some reason then to feel uncomfortable? Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments. With that being said, what if you're on a date, right? And then after dinner, your date suggests maybe like a nice little evening stroll or walk on the waterfront, but instead of the waterfront, you ended up at his apartment, and now he's just like popping champagne and proceeds to get a little comfortable. Let's watch.
Okay, this is definitely the most interesting and slightly frightening date in the life I've ever filmed. We met up at Tao Uptown for dinner, and I was already 19 minutes late because a man followed me home after I told him I wasn't interested in him for the second time in 3 weeks. When I texted my date that I was pulling up, he tells me that he'll be there in 10 minutes and didn't actually arrive for about 14. As I was freezing my butt off outside and ordering an Uber back home, he finally gets to the restaurant. That already soured my mood, but I got some Prosecco on my system and he was nice, so things seemed to be looking up. They immediately started looking down again after he had one espresso martini and apologized in advance if he was drunk because he's a quote lightweight and was already feeling tipsy. Then he insisted on serving each food item to me and tried doing so with the utensils he had already eaten off of. He actually took my chopsticks out of my hands at one point to grab a small piece of wagu, only to drop it on my plate and hand me the chopsticks again so that I could pick it up from my plate and put it in my mouth. I think I said 10 words the entire dinner because he completely dominated the conversation, and after dessert he claimed to have a champagne surprise for me on the waterfront, but the surprise ended up being his walk-up apartment in Queens, and it actually gets a million times worse from there. Okay, so part 2 of the story time. The Uber takes us to Long Island City, Queens, which is where everyone in New York says you get the best views of the skyline from the waterfront. It's so beautiful. I couldn't care less, but I've gone to the waterfront after a date before, and I was just like, all right, fine. The only difference is we are not at the waterfront. We are on a street and there are people around. It like seems safe enough. There are lights out. It was pretty late. It was like 12-ish, maybe 12:30. But I didn't feel unsafe. I always have protection on me, and I also send like location, information of everyone to like friends or family when I go out. So I felt fine, and my gut wasn't telling me that anything sinister was going to happen. I was just like, this is probably going to get a little weird. Okay, so then he says, I'm just going to go upstairs and grab the bottle of champagne and get you a heavier jacket, and then we'll head to the waterfront. I'm a little bit peeved that we're even here in the first place because I didn't tell him that I was okay with going to his place, but I knew that if I needed to get out of the situation, I could. And again, I wasn't feeling like super unsafe or like he was going to do anything. So while I'm in the apartment waiting at the door, he goes into the kitchen and he's like, did you hear that? And I'm like, no. What was it? He's like, did you hear that pop? Mind you, the pop was a pop. It was so faint, like you could barely hear it. He's like, yeah, well, I just popped the champagne. And then he goes on and on and on about how this is the nice bottle of champagne. This is Ace of Spades, the most expensive champagne you can get. It's the nicest champagne you can get. Like, forget Dom. This is it. This is the most expensive champagne you can buy. He's like, and look at this bottle. Look at this gold Pooter bottle. As in Pewtr. Look at this gold Pooter bottle. I bought this just for you, special for you, because I wanted to impress you. Okay, however, he takes a raisin then out of this little glass jar he has, not a branded container of raisins, just a glass jar of raisins, and he puts one inside of the champagne to make it more bubbly. Then he pours it into the glasses, and it literally looks like apple juice because it's so flat. This is the oldest bottle of champagne there is. He's probably had it since he was 3 years old. That you did not buy this special for me. Okay, so first, red flag. Then he moves into the living room and he sits down and he starts taking his shoes off. And I'm like, why is he taking his shoes off if we're going to the waterfront? And so then he goes, yeah, well, do you mind taking your shoes off too? I wore closed-toed shoes to the date because you don't have to take your shoes off at dinner, and I had no intention of coming to your apartment, and I'm also missing one of my big toenails. I don't want to take my shoes off. Like, what are we even doing this for in the first place? So then he also takes his suit jacket off and puts it in the closet, and as he's doing this, he goes, yeah, and so, I just want to give you a tour of the place. You don't need to give someone a tour of your New York City apartment unless you live in a penthouse, because you can see everything in the apartment from a singular vantage point. But then he goes, and I also really want to show you my toys. Is it okay if I show you my toys? I said, what? Okay, I'm sorry this is so late, but I'm in the middle of finals. However, finally finishing part 3 of the horrific date story time. So he asked me if I want to see his toys, to which I am dumbfounded. I'm just looking at him like, what? And then he says, my toys, like I should freaking know what he means by that, and starts pointing around his apartment to all the antiques that he has around. To set the scene, everything in his apartment is from between like 1783 and 1956. I kid you not, a bunch of just old shit just everywhere. And he proceeds to go around and give me a story for quite literally everything that's in the apartment. So when I tell you down to a piece of plastic sitting on the counter, like, yeah, this is from 1923 in South Carolina. This was a piece of a Coca-Cola bottle, and so I have it here because it's an antique. At one point, this man literally stands on the arm of his couch. I can't even take myself seriously. And he's pointing to a picture that is quite literally at eye level, so if he was on the ground, he could just point to it, and is like, yeah, so this is a Renaissance painting that I basically screenshotted on my phone, blew it up, and then had someone print it out, and then I put it inside of an antique frame. This was hand carved, and it was quite literally like one of those frames when you go to Home Goods and it would be like, made in Vietnam, handcrafted in Zimbabwe, one of those. It's not a hand carved frame. You got it from Marshall's. Mind you, as all of this is happening, I'm standing there looking at him like, no, like the fact that he wasn't picking up on my social cues and my body language, that I was very uncomfortable, had my jacket still on, purse in hand, ready to leave. That is what was frightening me the most, because I've never had any interaction with a human being who could not pick up on body language or social cues. So then I'm just like, okay, yeah, I have an early class in the morning, like I need to go, whatever. And he's like, oh no, well, let's go down to the waterfront. Mind you, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like, yeah, let's go down to the waterfront now, what. No, let's stop the charade, because we both know what is happening here, like, please. So anyways, I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the waterfront at 1 o'clock in the morning. Then he says, well, do you have a few more minutes? Because I feel like I didn't learn anything about you during this date. Like, on our next date, you need to talk more. Next date? and I need to talk more. You literally you dominated every single conversation the entire day. Like, what? Anyways, after he says that, he proceeds to take his phone out and, I kid you not, scroll through his entire Instagram feed and was just showing me and giving me an explanation of every single picture on his Instagram feed. So, like, yeah, in this picture, this is a mirror selfie, which, like, as you can see, I kind of just got my beard shaved, and then right here, there's a little stain on the mirror. That was actually from toothpaste. I probably should have cleaned that off first. But yeah, I really love that picture. Then this is the next picture. I kid you not. So then as I'm looking at the Uber app to see when my car is getting here, he leans over. So he's sitting on this side, comes around to this cheek. I think that he's going to grab something off the couch, just rests his lips on my cheek and is like, oh, yeah, you had something on your face and I had to get it. I think I got it. I said my Uber is downstairs and I left. When I tell you, I could not.
Second-hand embarrassment, I know that's definitely a thing. But seriously though, why do some men feel like they have to go above and beyond to impress a woman on the first date when clearly that's not who they really are? But if you're putting on a show just to flex things that doesn't seem like it's really you, then yeah, it's gonna seem off. Or maybe this man think it was him true self, and if that's the case, well, I can say he might be a little bit too conceited. Based on her sharing, he wasn't even trying to get to know her. He was more interested in showing off whatever he had, in that it would make her like him more than, well, clearly newsflash, that didn't work, and clearly you're not getting a second date, probably for the best. Some men really need to learn humility, and genuine connection can go a lot further than flexing. Let me know what you all think. As per usual, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Now we're going to move on. Imagine this. You went on this date, right? The guy looked familiar, but you weren't so sure. But you know, you went out on the date, everything seemed cool, it seemed fine, everything was going great. But then things started to get a little weird, and the weirdness, well, it didn't stop there. No, it actually turned into something a little bit more scary. Let's watch.
I have another creepy story. This one is about a girl who met a guy on a dating app and it went terribly wrong. So this girl downloaded a dating app. When she's scrolling through all the people in her area, she sees a guy who she had previously matched with. It is clear to her after about 20 minutes of conversation that he doesn't remember her, and so because she's a little bit embarrassed that she remembers him and he doesn't remember her, she just never mentions the fact that they had matched before. After a few days of talking, she starts to doubt herself. She starts to think that maybe this isn't the guy that she had previously matched with, because this guy's life seemed very different. His job was different, where he lived was different, his favourite bands were different. In fact, the bands that she remembered, specifically him liking her favourite bands, he didn't seem to have a clue who they were. She thinks to herself that maybe it is possible that this isn't the same guy, he's just somebody who looks like him, or maybe she's confusing him with another guy. She doesn't actually have to wait to meet this guy, because before their date had even happened, she started to see this guy randomly around, even though she had never seen him before. She saw him in her local supermarket, she saw him while she waited for the bus, but this guy never made a beeline for her. He didn't even wave, he just did one of these. And his nonchalant behaviour when he would see her led her to believe that there was nothing for her to feel alarmed about. The night of the date rolls around. At the bar, they're getting on quite well, conversation is flowing, there's not a lot of chemistry, but he's a nice guy, he's polite and he's got manners. The only thing that she doesn't like is that when he asks questions, he stares at her a little bit too intently and a little bit too long, and it makes her feel uncomfortable. She finds herself having to look away quite a lot. After 2 drinks, they leave the bar and they head towards the restaurant. But before they get to the restaurant, he asks her, is it okay if I stop back at my house and check on my dog? Being an animal lover, she says yes. When they get outside his house, he asks her, does she want to come in? And she says, no, I'm good here. After like 10-15 minutes, he comes back to the car and he looks really worried. He says the dog's not well and that he can no longer go for dinner, and he's very apologetic, which she is completely understanding about. As he feels so bad, he asks her, can he order her a cab and can he pay for it? Which she says that he doesn't need to do, but he is very insistent. And again, he says, do you want to come in and wait for the cab? And she says no. She is outside in his car, like waiting for him, not knowing how long the cab's going to be. She waits for around 10 minutes and then she gets her phone out to call a cab for herself, at which point he comes running out to her, almost like he's been watching her. Tells her that the cab is on its way and that it will be 20 minutes because they're very busy. She says, don't worry, I'm just going to get an Uber. And he says, Uber can never find this place. Honestly, you're better off just waiting. And as I say, I really want to pay. Please, I'll be offended, let me pay. So again, she waits. He then comes back out of his house, but this time with his dog. And he tells her that he's going to go for a quick lap around the block and that he'll be back soon and that her cab will be here any minute. As he gets to the top of the street, he takes a phone call. He then turns around and gestures to her to follow him, which which she takes to mean that her cab is ready and waiting for her at the top of the road. So she runs towards him. When she gets there, he tells her that the cab is cancelled because he got called in another job and that he's going to try and contact another cab for her now. At this point, she has had enough and she just tells him that she's going to walk towards the main road and she's just going to hail a cab herself. And he says, I completely understand, but at least let me walk you there. Like, it's getting dark, I don't want you walking by yourself. And again, I feel terrible. So again, she says, okay, fine. So they're walking up towards this main road and he says, let's cut across there, that takes us to blah 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 road. And she's like, okay. They cut across this little bit, but it doesn't take them to any road. It looks like it goes deeper and deeper into a forest. And the whole time, as they get deeper and deeper, he is reassuring her that it's just a few more minutes, and then they're going to be at the main road. And now she has no choice, because when she looks behind her, she can't even see the path anymore. Until eventually she just can't bear it and she tells him, I'm scared, I want to go back. He turns around, drops the entire jolly, nice, polite man act and says, I haven't given you any reason to be scared of me yet. Turns away and he carries on marching. Instantly she knows this is the guy that she was talking to. He has just lied about his entire life and his intentions are not good. She turns and she runs back the way she came. She has no idea if she's even going the right way, and the entire time she can hear this man laughing at her as she tries to get away from him. Not only does this man laugh at her, he also tells his dog to find her as he's laughing. Can you imagine? Eventually she does find her way to a main road and she flags down somebody and she goes to the police and she tells them everything that's happened. He deletes every single one of his profiles on all of the dating apps. He has no social media. When the police went to the address, the one that man said that he lived at, they found that the landlord had actually been renting out each of the rooms to like strangers illegally, and that he hadn't been checking their IDs. And so there were several men that would like come and go and they were just paying cash. After a few months, he gets back in contact with her and he tries to gaslight her into thinking that her running away was really strange and that he was only joking around. She lets him know that she knows that's not his real name, and he starts to detail what he actually wants to do with her and what he would have done with her had she not run away from him that day. There are so many weirdos out there. Don't get in anyone's car, even if their dog is sick. Not that you should have to worry about it, but you do have to worry about it because there's weirdos out there.
Well, after hearing that story, Islanders, I have to share my personal first date horror story with you. I'm after telling that 1 year. This was when I was back in my early 20s. I was on the road one day running some errands. I met this guy in a parking lot, right? He was a little bit older, seemed really nice, we struck up a conversation. As a matter of fact, he was working at one of the financial institutions on the plaza where I was conducting business. Ended up exchanging numbers and he asked me out on a date that Friday, which I agreed. I didn't have any reasons not to. Anyhow, we were supposed to go to this little party. It's almost like a networking party, and both of us had that club thing in common. He came, picked me up. Everything feels, seems nice, seems normal, and we were driving to the location. But then I realized that he was taking like a completely different route. Mind you, he wasn't from the area which I live, so I was telling him, no, don't drive this way, drive that way. He proceeds to ignore me and kept on driving. I said to him again, maybe, he'll never hear me. No, the location isn't that way, it's actually that way. He's like, take a breather, just relax, and he chuckles. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I am getting so uncomfortable. So I asked him again. He continues to ignore me once more. So I said to him, you know what, let me out of the car. And the man just totally ignored me. So I am now looking at the car handle because I'm saying, listen, I'm getting scared now and I'm about to jump out. So he realized now that I am about to jump out. He was like, are you going to jump out of the car? I said, yes, because you're refusing to let me out of your car. Let me out. So he's like, no, you don't. You're overreacting, yada, yada, yada. And this is where now I believe that my judgment was a bit off, because instead of I allowing him to let me out, I allowed him to take me back home, which at that time I should have just exited his vehicle and called myself a cab and went home. He apologized. I didn't really care. He was like, oh, that was a joke. Joke, sir, where? Anybody look like them laughing, or is there a circus right here, sir? Can't got my yard. So he took me back home, and needless to say, that was it. I never went on a date with him again. That I saw him here and there over the years, like a few times around. Of course not. I'm not going to entertain him again in that capacity.
I heard we're doing Hinge date horror stories. Since the app's getting deleted anyway, I figure I might as well tell my business. You know what I'm saying? No one's gonna know. The worst date I have ever been on in my life. Let's go back, shall we? The year is 2021. I'm graduating. I'm a senior in college. Meet a guy online. He didn't go to my school, but he went to a school that was close to my school. Okay, so I felt safe. I'm like, okay, fellow college kid, not serial killer, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, he was older than me as well. I think he was in his master's program. I'm graduating my senior year. On the app a little bit, cool vibes. Switch over to iMessage, cool vibes. We FaceTime a couple times, so I got a good feel for who he is, how he talks, what he's about. So eventually we schedule a day that we can go out on a date. I'm in school, I don't have a car. He has a car. So first mistake, he came to my school and picked me up, but I made sure I got picked up away from the dorm area just in case. I am smart, I'm dumb, but I'm smart, okay? So I went by the educational side of where my campus is and got picked up there. Mind you, he didn't give me any details about the day. He's like, oh, I'm gonna take you out, we're gonna have a good time and vibe, blah, blah, blah. I get in the car. This man is elbows deep into his Chinese food that he ordered, okay? He already had Chinese food. He was halfway in it as he's driving, eating his Chinese food. Okay, I was like, oh, were you hungry? He's like, yeah, no, my fault. Did you want something? You want some? I was like, no, I think I'm okay. Are we gonna go eat later? He's like, yeah, we're gonna eat. Let me just finish this real quick and we out. All right, okay. He's driving. Chinese food in his lap, fork in mouth, driving. We pull up into this assisted living complex into a parking lot and he begins to roll up. He knew I didn't smoke. So I'm like, oh, you're rolling up? He's like, yeah, I like to roll up before I eat. He just ate, he just had Chinese food. The Chinese food was an appetizer and now he needs to roll up to smoke. It wasn't hot outside, I remember that. So he hot boxes me in the car. He's smoking, windows up, getting high, off of his high, because the whole car is full of gas. I'm boofing. He's like, oh yeah, this probably wasn't a good idea. The restaurant I picked isn't probably gonna fuck with us because now we smell like weed. So I'm like, okay, let's just go somewhere else. He was like, actually, you know what would really hit right now? A McFlurry. So guess where we went? McDonald's. Okay? Drive-through, because we don't want to go inside boofing. We get to the drive-through. It's a nice looking kid, young kid at the window. We pull up and he's like, hey, can I get 2 Oreo McFlurries? And then he looks over to me. He's like, you know what? These are mad sweet, so we should get a water with that. And he's like, and 2 waters. Oh, you want the cup or the bottle? And he was like, bottle. And then he said the total. He's like, that'll be blah, 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 blah. He looks over at me. He's like, damn. Since when did McDonald's get so expensive? He looks over to the guy. He's like, for 2 waters and 2 McFlurries, is that much? He started arguing with the guy, saying, oh, last week I came here and it was this price, and now you're trying to tell me it's this. I was like, oh, I was embarrassed. I was looking at him. I'm like, I'm sorry. He looks over at me. He's like, do you really need water? You could share if anything. I said, yeah, I don't need the water. I don't need the water. Actually, I did need the water because my throat is getting dry. My mouth is, I'm high, okay? But it's fine. I don't want any conflict. I don't need the water that bad, okay? 2 McFlurries, 1 water. That he ends up drinking the whole thing, by the way. I didn't even get a sip. It's fine. I don't want to drink after you. You're scary. For me to see him go from a 0 to a 10 on this poor little kid at the cash register really got me scared. We finished our McFlurries. I'm thinking the night's over. I'm like, yeah, this was fun. I need to go back. I'm just pooped. And he's like, oh, really? You want to go back right now? I'm like, yeah. Can you take me back to my dorm? I have the maps on my phone, making sure he drives me back to campus. I need to make sure he's not gonna make any left turns. I'm scared. You're scaring me. So we're driving. We pass my dorm. And he says, I kind of don't want this night to end. Stay tuned. Okay, y'all, part 2. Y'all only had to wait a day, so don't come for me. Before I begin this part, I wanted to address something. All throughout college, I didn't talk to any guys. High school, no one was checking for me for real, so I didn't know any better. I don't use that as an excuse because I was like 21 at that time, so I should have known based off of experiences like I see on TV and my friends, so I should have known better, but at the same time, I didn't. My first real date was that same year, but with a real nice gentleman, so I kind of knew after that how it's supposed to go. I mean, the ropes, and since then, I had never settled for less. Actually, I did, but we're not gonna talk about it. If you guys want to see me selling for less, check my 2024 dating wrapped, but we're not talking about that right now. Secondly, I was stacked, guys. I wasn't thinking the story time though is gonna contain receipts, because I actually found myself sending my friends a video of what happened that day. So So stay tuned to the end so you can see how I looked and how I was explaining the story then. I had the address on my maps because it was getting dark at that point and I have no sense of direction. So I just wanted to make sure we were getting back to my spot safe and sound. No left turns, no nothing. He drives past my door. I'm noticing. I'm like, maybe I'm bugging. Maybe I'm high. Like, he's taking me to the door. He looks at me. He's like, oh, I don't want this night to end. Keeps driving. He's like, I actually gotta use the bathroom. I'm not saying nothing. I'm thinking maybe he's gonna use the bathroom after he drops me off. I'm like, maybe there's a turn I don't know about. I don't know. Maybe my maps is bugging. I'm hallucinating. I'm high. Driving. He's like, maybe I should go to my apartment. Actually, maybe not. It's too early for you to see my apartment. I know a place I can go. I kid you not. You can watch my video for the receipts at the end to verify. I kid you not. This man pulls up to this construction site kind of thing. Peep, the setting is dark. It's cold outside. And you mean to, I'm high. I'm like losing my mind. And you mean to tell me this man drives into this kind of looks like an abandoned warehouse kind of thing, like an abandoned construction site. Like you could see people are working here, but it's dark. There's nobody there now. I'm seeing concrete slabs. I'm seeing walls. I'm seeing woods. I'm seeing trees. I said, take me home now. I was done being cute and dainty and yeah, I know it's fine. Like whatever, we can do it another time. I was done with that. I started spazzing. I was like, take me home. It's scary here. I was losing it. He was like, what, you good? I'm like, no, I'm not good. I'm paranoid. I think you're gonna kill me. I'm scared. You're scaring me. Take me home. He's like, oh nah, Shawty, you paranoid as shit. Nah, it's not gonna work. I'm like, good. Take me home. I looked so cute early in the day. I didn't have lashes on, but I had like my hair done. The way I was like this, my hair looks crazy now. You'll see. My hair looks insane. This was me during the day, and this was me when I got back home, okay? So by the love of God, he took me home at the academic side on campus, and I had to walk my ass like 10 minutes to get back to my dorm. High as hell. Middle of the night. I'm thinking things are coming for me. I'm getting paranoid. I'm thinking I'm being watched. I'm thinking there's a tracker on my pants. It's fine, whatever. I get to my dorm and I make this video. Bro, I just got back from the guy. I made him drive me back to campus because I was getting scared. I just feel like somebody's watching me right now. We drive past my school. He drives into this like dark ass, woody ass. I was like, I'm gonna die tonight. Like abandoned ass building in the woods, on the side of the road. I was like, yeah, baby, you're gonna have to take me back home. So I tried calling Sierra. Nobody answers. So I was like, okay, this is my time to go. I kept telling him, it's scary over here. And then he was like, are you good? I was like, no. So I was like, I'm going to die. My weed was laced. I'm going to get
R-worded.
I made him drive me back. I was bugging. I was really bugging in the car, looking crazy. But anyways, safety first. After everything's said and done, I start to feel bad, actually. Looking back now, I don't. But at the time, I did feel bad. So I reached out to him again. He knew someone that sold this product. I don't want to disclose what it is because I think it'll give it away. But he knows someone that sells these things. So I'm like, let me just make conversation and ask him about it. So this is like maybe a week later. I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I was interested in this. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? How much it costs, blah, blah, blah. And he told me about it. I was like, yeah, I might be interested. I just want to know how much it costs because I can always get it here or I can go back home and get it there. And he told me the price. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. Thanks for letting me know. I think I'm just gonna get it in New York anyway, so don't worry about it. The man goes bonkers. The man starts cursing me out through text messages. I have the receipts as well. I'll be posting them as well. Exhibit A, Exhibit B. The man was offended because he went out of his way to get the product and he was gonna come drop it off. Where did I say I needed that? Where did I say I wanted that bad? Where did I agree for you to come back to see me? I just want to know the price. Never had a man tell me to unalive myself ever in my life. He is blocked.
No. This is just some scary stuff right here. This man is a straight up diabolical liar, sir. So you went and you picked her up and you're already halfway through your meal and then offered her McDonald's. What kind of nonsense is that? And you know, when I've listened to the story, he probably even never had no real intention of taking her to dinner. I don't think he had no reservation whatsoever. That to me is just so wild. Let's talk about boundaries for a bit, because I realize that when you're in your 20s, well, I'm not saying that all of us ladies are. Some of us really clearly didn't know better. We didn't even know where to draw the line. First, after this man didn't even feed her, then he drove past, well, smoke, get her high, drove past Let's Campus, pulled up to this abandoned building. Clearly he was up to something, if you know what I mean. And she wasn't even getting the gist of it because she did not even mention it in her story. This is a big billboard of red flag. You know the part that gets me though? She starts to panic. And when he carried her home, instead of blocking this man, she proceeds to, a week after, trying to reach out, trying to strike up another conversation with him. Girl, you have to listen to your instincts. Boy, oh boy, this was a mess. And hopefully, well, clearly, now that she's sharing it, she actually learned her lesson from that one. Let me know what you all think about this story in particular and how would you handle it.
Oh, look, guys, so Ava is asleep, and I just remembered this horror story when I met this guy from Hinge, and I had the worst experience. I just wanted to tell you guys so you can learn from my stupidness. So let's call him Tommy, the guy that we're talking about, the undercover cheapskate, yeah? So Tommy sold me a dream. He worked in tech, he was older than me, I was in first year of uni, and he paid for every single date, yeah? So I was gassed. I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. This is very key details that I'm letting you know, yeah? He paid for everything. So I never was going to expect the violations that was to come from this one guy as an undercover cheapskate. So he was doing long distance, and I already told him I don't want to do long distance because I've had that before and I always end up getting hurt. Like, I don't want it. But he was there reassuring me, like, don't worry, like, I'll come up to see you at uni in Nottingham and then you can come down to see me. So I'm thinking, okay, cool, it might be different. So first red flag is that I paid for my own train ticket to come back to London to go see him, yeah? Even though he knows I'm a uni student, I had no shmonies, but he had all the shmonies, apparently. I should have known from then. Second red flag, I get to his place now thinking we're going to do up, like, cooking at home. Oh my God, like, we're in love. Might as well move in and love you, wow. He was late. Maybe went outside his house an hour. Cool. But I firmed it because I thought, oh, he's probably late from work. He arrives now. We go upstairs. He told me he had his own place, but he had a roommate. So we lied again. But again, I firmed it because I thought, why would you lie about that? But, you know, maybe you're just... Everyone has roommates. Like, everyone has roommates in London. Nice. Third red flag. My guy told me, I'm going to make you the most amazing food. Like, I can't wait for you to come. I'm going to treat you like a princess. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm gassed. So I get to his now, I'm starving. Haven't eaten for the whole day because I got high expectations for this food, yeah? I go to him, oh my God, I'm starving. He's like, oh, I'll pop down on Tesco quickly. So I'm thinking he's going to get some ingredients. I'm thinking, okay, cool, yeah, I can't wait. Tell me why this guy comes back with a packet of crisp. One packet of crisp. And opens it and starts to munch it in my face. And I'm like to him, where's the food? And then he's like, oh, I forgot. But we can just share a packet of crisps. But don't worry, tomorrow morning, I'm going to make you the most banging breakfast. So I was like, okay. Should have known from then. The next day now, I wake up. Have I not started my period? And my periods were heavy. I jumped. I ran to the toilet. Did I not slip in my own blood and fall on the floor for an hour, lying there in my own blood because I was so weak because I haven't eaten for the day and I'm losing blood, yeah? For a whole hour, and he did not check on me once. So now, after I gather some energy to stand up and wipe the floor of my blood, I go back into the bedroom now, fuming. Oh, it's gonna have to be a part 2. Okay, so we got up to the bit where I'm literally bleeding on his floor, right? And I wiped it up. And now I'm barging into his room, yeah? I'm going to him, so you're telling me you haven't realised that I've been gone for an hour while I've been screaming your name, going up. I nearly said his name, but yeah. Tommy. He's not even looking at me, yeah? He's on his computer looking the other way. And he goes, you knew I had to work. Oh, Ava just farted. This girl stinks. But anyways, yeah? I was like to him, yeah, and you knew I'm bloody hungry. Like, you know I'm hungry and I'm weak. I couldn't even get off the floor because you haven't fed me. All I had was a packet of crisp. And if you're wondering, Maya, why didn't you just get takeaway? I was broke. I was in uni, broke. And he promised me he was going to make me a big breakfast. So I'm going to him, where's my breakfast then? He goes, oh, I was going to have a protein shake. So you're telling me you want me to have a protein shake? Protein shake? He was like, yeah, it's chocolate flavoured. I nearly went mad. Not nearly, I did go mad. And then he was like, fine, I'm going to make you some food. I said, I don't even want your food anymore. I don't even want your damn food. Anyways, he still went into that kitchen and he went to go do whatever seasonings. He was Swedish, innit? So I don't even know what seasonings they do over there, but he was going to cook up something, yeah? So I go in there now and my guy has picked up an egg. I'm thinking, okay, cool, we're having some eggs on toast. Cracks the egg. Scrambles the egg. Gives me a plate. Puts half of one scrambled egg onto my plate. I had half an egg. Where's the toast, you may ask? Where's the toast? He then pulls out of his cupboard crackers. Gives me 2 crackers. Nah. I just can't believe that I ate half an egg and 2 crackers for breakfast. And he said, this is all I have. Did you not know I was coming for 2 months? Did you not know we've been planning this for a time and you don't know where I'm coming, but you have no food in your house? So then, yeah, he apologizes, yeah? So now I'm thinking, okay, maybe he just broke. Still giving him the benefit of the doubt. Still being a dumb girl thinking that not deep in my violations until later on, yeah? So he goes to me, okay, I'm so sorry. Like, on my lunch break, let's go downstairs. Let's go to Hyde Park and let's enjoy. It got worse. So he apologizes, like, okay, cool, on my lunch break, let's go Hyde Park, let's have a great time. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's do that. We go downstairs now. Tell me why we pop into Starbucks. Don't even know why we was in there in the first place. If he got no money, why are we in Starbucks in the first place? He buys a Frappuccino for himself. He buys a toasty for himself. And then he buys a snack. Yeah. Just write mug on my forehead because I don't understand why I was still there. I still don't say nothing. I'm just keeping it all in my brain. We go to the park. Tell me why my guy was doing parkour in the park. Parkour! I have never been so embarrassed before in my whole life. If you like parkour, that's you, that's not me. Alright, it's been a couple of days for me to enjoy my embarrassment. But I'm back to give you a part 3 of what happened when my guy wanted to do up backflips off buildings, yeah? Now to make it worse, we're in the park. He takes off his top. Gives me his phone and says, film me please. I'm thinking, what in the world is really going on? Like, there were so many questions. A, why is your top off in public? B, why am I filming you? Like, why am I sitting here and filming you? And then C, do you know what's even more embarrassing? Is that his flip didn't even work. Like, was that meant to be impressive? Was I meant to be like, oh my God, I hope you're okay? No, because I'm hungry. Like, it's so funny because if it was right now, I would not be doing this. But this was a couple years ago. So let me carry on. So now we go back upstairs. His lunch break is over. And I'm like on next level hunger. But I'm still thinking, maybe this guy's just broke. Let me go into Tesco. And let me go get like a meal deal for 2. So I'm being nice. I'm not even thinking, let me get one for 1 person. I'm thinking, let me get one for 2 people. Because, you know, we're both struggling out here together. I come back upstairs, yeah? I give him the food. He's like, thanks. Like, that's it. Thanks. And I was like, you're welcome. Now it's my time to go. My time to go back home on my train, like, back to Nottingham. And he was meant to drop me all the way to, I think it's what, Paddington? King's Cross. So as I'm packing up my stuff, I'm like, oh, we need to go now. He's like, oh, like, is it okay if I just drop you to the station right there? Like, not all the way. And I was like, I laughed. I went, thinking he must be joking. Because after all the traumatic things you put me through, you're telling me you're not even going to drop me all the way. You're only going to drop me to the station. That was 2-second walk from your house because you're a lazy bum. Anyways, I just laugh. We leave the house now. We get to the train station. I have tapped in. My guy's like, oh, I forgot my wallet. And then I don't know what comes over me. But I go absolutely ballistic inside that train station. Like, I'm screaming at him. I'm like, you're a fucking bum. You make me sick. How dare you not drop me all the way when you haven't even fed me? I've bled on your floor and you do fucking backflips in the fucking pool. Like, you know, the security guards that were there were just like looking at me. This woman, she could feel the anger. She didn't even tell me to be quiet. She started laughing. She was like, nah. And I'm like, you're just a bum. Fucking speak to me ever again. Effing this, bitching that. Like, I'm going in. Like, I feel like I just came to my wit's end at that point. So then he was like, you're embarrassing me. I was like, you think this is embarrassing? I was like, I'll tell you what's fucking embarrassing. Parkour in a park. And then he leaves, I leave. We never talked to each other ever again. I blocked him on every single thing. If you ever see this, you're a bitch.
No, that cussing out was definitely deserving. How can you invite a grown-ass woman to your house and not feed her? Sir, come on, man. So she took a while, to gather him up. But I'm glad she did eventually at that train station. We said, guys, let's just jump into this final story because I just can't.
Ain't no way 20 years later, I'm Gabrielle Union from Deliver Us from Evil. I'm living her exact same life. Why did I just go on a date with a 38-year-old aspiring rapper? You're 38. You're 36. Why did I immediately think of Julia? I never make a fool of you. Like, that man said, oh, and I'm a rapper. I would have been, check, please. I'm literally living out that scene. Literally. Then this man goes on a Trump rant on a first date, bro. I'm just here for the vibes. And this is not the vibe. All I asked him was, why are you still single? This man said she's is gay, they lesbian. They want to be a man and they views and stuff. I said, what you mean? He said, Trump, he started with Trump. I said, I don't really discuss politics, but I feel you. Like, I'm not about to argue with you about Trump, the incompetency. The first thing, the gas prices was low. I said, can I just say one thing? I said, no one was actually driving during his presidency. So the need for gas was low, right? Like, do you agree with that? He was like, well, yeah. I said, so why would you attribute that to Trump? Like logically, it happened during his time, but we were in a pandemic. That would have been the case with any president. Like, this shit was crazy. Well, the Democrats, they allowing y'all to run around and claim to be a woman. A whole man can be a woman. All the values are just fucked up. I said, respectfully, you're absolutely correct, but I don't get in this debate because the top 1% run the world anyway. They're all pawns. We're being, so here I am fucking into it with y'all. I tried to stay out of it. I tried to stay cool. I tried to be cool, but goddamn, I'm telling you, there's no way we should be living like this. Why are we subjected to this? The Lord, y'all saying there's plenty of fish in the sea. There's no more fish. All the fish are like bottom feeders. Like, what the y'all pray for me. I'm done dating. I am done.
Oh boy, another one. Guys, after hearing all of these horror stories, it is the pattern. Both men and women are out here complaining about the same thing, that the dating pool has malaria in it. If you should really think about it, who we are actually dating, it makes me wonder, why aren't we being more kind and genuine with each other? And of course, coming with our true intentions. Why are we having these horrible experiences? Anyhow, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up today's first date horror stories. As per usual, don't make a fuss in your business. If you have any first date horror stories of your own, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section so we can all see what each other have been up to. With that being said, guys, if you haven't already liked or subscribed, now's the time to go ahead and do so. If you want to continue to watch more relatable videos like these, you can go ahead and click that up next video where they right here, so I believe, and enjoy the day away. As per usual, guys, thank you so much for sticking around until the end of another video. My name is Jody and I aspire to inspire. Until next time, guys, walk good.